I'm here with Matt G. We had Yield, but his internet just went out. We may or may not be able to get him. Hold on. Is that better, V? I can also turn off the music. Music's off. Yeah, so we're waiting on Alex, who decided Pokemon hunting during grocery shopping was a little bit more important than being here on time. And we just lost Yield. Apparently his internet just went out. So he may or may not come back. So we should be starting in the next 5 minutes. We'll see you guys then.
are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Mick, Alex, I Yield to No One,
Steve.
And
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 584. I'm your host, Tricky Mick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Alex.
the Twisted Metal show on Peacock isn't really Twisted Metal, but it's also not really that bad of a show either.
Did you watch all the episodes yet?
I've only watched the first two. I've actually seen that critically on Rotten Tomatoes, it's like got a 70-something rating, so it's got a fresh rating, and then user score is like 94, I think, or 90-something. So, I mean, people seem to like it.
Okay.
I mean, I'll talk more about it because I've been playing more Twisted Metal and what we've been playing. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of my little intro to things. But you know what, Tricky?
What's that?
Ain't nothing but a Matt G thing, baby.
Speaking of Matt G, I got to come up with a good opening phrase for you.
I just did it.
No, that's too generic. I got to do something that. See, yours and Yields came organically through all the years of doing the show. Rick's calling you out, Matt. He's saying, nice background, Matt, but no trophy cart, though.
Well, Rick, as I've told Tricky many a times, I value some of my electronic privacy, and keeping things private will keep all those spam bots off my back. And in fact, since I don't really care about trophies, why do you guys care about my trophies?
All right.
Matt likes some cookies, but not all cookies.
All right. Everybody pause for 1 second. I got to do a thing on the live stream, so nobody talk because nobody's going to hear you anyway. Hold on.
Well, this is just...
Well, I am the star of the show on Twitch. Sorry.
Matt, can you not hear me?
And
No, I can hear you.
We're back
on the Twitch stream. Suddenly, I was all in. There we go.
I figured.
Yes.
I figured if two of the hosts are going to use their cameras, we might as well use the cameras. So.
Yes, I don't have any sites I check, so definitely take all suggestions.
I'll send them in the group.
All right, make us go live, Tricky.
No, we're live. We're back.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because Rick says
We didn't want Rick to miss us too much.
Well, the problem is okay. Just a little behind the scenes. XSplit came out with a new update, which I use because there's two ways to do the presentation. Where the old way, which is before they did the update, any sound from my computer, I could not mute, and it would come over the thing. So if somebody sent me an email, somebody sent me a Facebook message, something like that, it would come through on the live stream. Now they have it set up where only the things that I want to come through, which is the way it should always been. But in the old way, you could preview a scene and make a change, and not mess up what the viewers were seeing. Now you can't do that. So I had to switch to Matt's Skype screen, bring up his camera, and then switch back, and that's what happened. But some comments from the chat. Rick says, my camera was there and then gone. Yes. V says, stop breaking things. I wasn't breaking any things. I was fixing things. Rick says, fair enough. I just assumed Tricky forgot to put it on. And then V says, husband. And then Rick says, hi, Matt.
Hello, Rick, and everybody else that's here. I am glad you're here tonight. Need to have some form of entertainment on Sunday nights.
In the chat, we got Saber, we got Rick, we got the Dark Knight 82, we got Dex Pack, who I literally just found out who that really was. He's been a fan for us for a long time. I just never had like the real name associated with the thing. And then obviously we have both Matt and V in the chat. So thank you everybody for being here. Appreciate that greatly. I'm a little discombobulated. How you guys doing? You guys doing good? Everything good?
Yeah, I mean, things are fine. Like I said, I watched a little Twisted Metal this week, the first 2 episodes, and I at first wasn't sure how I felt about them essentially just using Twisted Metal in name because the story is not actually taken from the show. Like the story I could see happening in the world Twisted Metal, but it's not based on the actual games themselves, which to be fair, I don't really know if a car tournament where they just do like every episode's like a new battleground really works out as well as like on a TV format. So I'm sure that when Sony was laying out on how they wanted to do all this with the showrunners that they're like, you know what, let's try to figure out what's the best avenue for this on a television screen. So again, I think it's a little bit too comical. Anthony Mackie's character, I like Anthony Mackie, but for a guy who's basically stuck in the wastelands, who's a delivery driver in between, like, so if you haven't watched any Twisted Metal, it's basically like post-apocalyptic. All like a bunch of towns have walled themselves off to protect their the citizens with inside and continue life. Well, all the criminals and the violent people were thrown out into the midst of everything and allowed to and forced to fend for themselves. Anthony Mackie is a delivery driver. He goes from town to town delivering supplies, and he's just amidst all this chaos, he's way too cheery. He's way too comical. He's just all smiley. Now, there are moments, like reflective moments, where he looks back on some of the personal things in his life and he laments things. But in general, I feel like he's way too jokey. And you got Sweet Tooth singing Cisco's thong song. I overall think that they maybe
that was
went
a funny
too...
scene, though.
Huh?
That was a funny scene, though.
Yeah, but you also don't come from the background of Twisted Metal. What makes Twisted Metal good is the darkness to it. And I get that they necessarily can't translate all of that. You can't make a Twisted Metal Black TV show because it's too dark, especially on Peacock. But I do think they went too far in the other side with the comical or the funny stuff. I think they could have had that, but not be it all the time. So, but honestly, like I like the look of Sweet Tooth. I like Will Arnett as the voice of Sweet Tooth. There's nice references peppered in throughout. Just in the first couple episodes, what I've noticed, there's a Blackfield prison coat in Sweet Tooth's room in the casino that he's hanging out at, which is, of course, a reference to Twisted Metal Black. Thomas Hayden Church, nice to see him. He is Agent Stone driving Outlaw, essentially. That's a car and a driver from Twisted Metal Black. You could see Shadow, the hearse that's seen throughout, a bunch of the games, including Twisted Metal 2012. So, I mean, yeah, and like every episode name is like a license plate. Because license plates are big within Twisted Metal. Obviously, they're all cars. And even like the trophies in Twisted Metal Black, the icons for those are little license plates with a message that or a number word combination or letter combination that like basically represents the character that has the license plate. So the episode names are based on license plates. So that's really cool. So, I mean, I'm going to continue watching it. I just think that my advice for Twisted Metal fans, be able to separate it from the game series because it's not the game series. You'll see references, but it's not like a story that you're going to see in the games. So just be able to separate the game series from the films or the TV series, and hopefully out of this, because it seemed to get in positive reviews, we'll get a new game. If that gets us a new game, then I'm fine with it. Or what I think they should do, Sony, if you're listening, just remake Twisted Metal 2 for the PS5 with updated graphics and controls, and I think people will go bonkers for it.
Or just forget everything Alex just said and wait until you watch the entire series, and then everything he just said will be null and void.
No.
Yes.
But
Rick wants to know who plays Sweet Tooth. The voice is done by Will Arnett. The body's done by Samoa Joe.
Yeah. AEW wrestler, Ring of Honor television champ Samoa Joe.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think they got, aside from that thing with Cisco and him singing that, I think they got Sweet Tooth pretty well. So they did a good job with that.
And of course, I'm joking about Alex because Alex is definitely entitled to his opinion. I'm just messing with him because he hasn't finished watching it yet, and everything he just said he's probably gonna feel different when he gets to the end.
Also, I do love Neve Campbell being in the show. So casting wise, I think they did a good job because I like the cast.
Yeah, I like I like the casting of Quiet too. I like her character.
You mean Beatrice, Stephanie Beatrice?
Yes, I couldn't think of her.
So I'm like 4 episodes in, and I think they have as much comedy as they've added the twisted metal portion of the game in there. So it does taper off in the first, after the first 2 episodes. It's still there and it's still prominent because Mackey's a funny guy, but definitely it has some darker tones as you get into the later episodes.
Yes. All right. Getting back to where we need to be. I'm discombobulated because I'm still trying to set things up because I slept all day.
Matt, you had a good week, sir.
I was good to go. I was just trying to.
No. Well, I mean, I got to answer how my week was. I took up, that chunk of time. I was just seeing if Matt had a good week too. But
Matt, did you have a good week?
I did, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Okay. You notice how he didn't ask me about my week, right?
You don't like to answer questions. You just like to throw it to everybody else and then move on without answering the question.
No, I like to answer questions. I just never have time because you go on a 5-minute speech.
Do you want my opinion on Twisted Metal or not?
I do, and I want your opinion on other things. And people, the listeners want to know how you feeling, and that's fine. I'm just saying, the byproduct of that is I don't know what to get to say how I feel.
I'm a man of many words. No, we'll make sure you get your opinion in there, Tricky.
Yeah, I just it's been a long week between a wake and a funeral, and my schedule's been thrown off because normally I work 4 p.m. to midnight, and this week I was working midnight to 8, so it kind of threw me off. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Tricky.
Yeah.
I want you to be upfront with us on this.
Sure.
So, Gareth did his rarity update. He just gave us the bullet points this week, which honestly, if it saves him time, I mean the write-ups are great, but if he's going to do the audio, which we're going to have audio at some point. I don't know whether it's going to be part of this show or excuse me.
It's going to be really show or, it's going to be really separate.
Okay, because it is a large chunk of audio.
55 minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, if the bullet points, if that's more time friendly to him, like I think that conveys the information too. But however he wants to do it. But there are questions, Tricky, as to how dedicated you are to this competition after this bet you made with Rick, because you're not actually moving up the ranks. And I know you're hiding stuff, but are you still like knee deep? Are you still gonna win this bet? Because it seems like you've been quiet on this front. You haven't been saying much.
Okay. I did want to make this public, but I guess now, unless I answered this, I can't really. I'd be accused of gaslighting. I told Rick 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think, that I'm conceding the bet because I have other things I have to play that's going to take my time away, and I'm not going to be able to keep up the pace that I was at. So I told Rick privately that I was conceding the bet and that he was going to win because I just don't have the time. So.
All right, well, good man, honoring your bets, and
I'm going to pay up my bet. I don't. The only thing about our bet I don't remember is if the money went to him or I had to donate it to Extra Life. I could not remember. So, but I've been so wrapped up with everything because currently I am playing 5 games that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Well, you're playing Saints Row.
Well, I could talk about that, but I'm playing 5 other games that I can't talk about. And 3 of them are at least 50 to 60 hours.
Are these for review?
No, it's beta testing and not.
If you're beta testing Ghost of Tsushima 2, I'm gonna be real pissed.
Well, if I was, I couldn't tell you. So, okay, so Rick, the money goes to Rick, and if I won, it went to the kids. All right, so Rick, I will get your information and I will pay it up very shortly.
Tricky, I think you dug yourself an early hole because you made that bet too far in the hole. Rick was too far ahead, and it was too far it was months into it,
Well, okay. Let me explain my reasoning for the bet because I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. I like the challenge, and I when my back is against the wall is when I do my best work. And I'm not trying to sound conceited or anything like that, but in the last in the trophy wars, we were behind, and then I just buckled down and I brought us to victory. And you,
well, hold on.
Let me finish because I'm about to give you credit. You yield, and everybody else that was involved. You guys did your part. I'm not saying you guys did not do anything to help win. I know you got I think that's when you got the Sound Shapes platinums and all those trophies and stuff like that. You guys did your work. I'm not trying to take away.
I played Hitman Go for you, sir.
Yeah,
Hitman Go.
I'm not trying to take away anything that you guys did. I'm just saying when my back's against the wall and I know, especially for the kids, I go all out. This time, just my commitments to other places just took me away, and I was not going to be able to do it. So Rick is officially the first person to beat me on one of my gaming bets that I've made.
So I guess that means you're not gunning for me either.
I mean, I'm still trying to get as many points as I can. I'm not making a bet on this, but I think by the end I'll be in the top 10. But I don't, I can't confidently say that and say that I will be in the top 10. I think I've moved up from 18th to 14th now. I think it was 14th.
Yeah, it's a little hot and heavy in the middle there. Everyone's kind of jockeying for position.
So, and you know, that's to say that one of those spots, it was basically given to me because JT basically just gave up. So it was easy to pass him because I wasn't competing with him anymore. So, again, I think I'll be in the top 10 by the time it's all said and done, but I'm not guaranteeing that. And I'll probably just unhide all the trophies soon just because at this point it doesn't matter anymore. But yeah, it's been a little struggle.
Well, let me ask you: if you've already conceded the bet and you're going to unhide your trophies, were you planning on playing Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game on PS4?
No.
Okay. Well, it's free on Plus if you have Plus. It's a good game, and there's some rare trophies in there. So I'm just throwing out there I was planning to play that myself, but there's a tip out there for all you folks. And unlike the PS3 version, it has a platinum trophy. So
Saber says, I'll be in the top 10, but I can't guarantee I'll be in the top 10. Tricky logic. No, I'm saying I think I'll be in the top 10. I'm just not confident enough to say, I'll take a bet. You know, I'll go double or nothing with Rick on this. I'm not that confident. It's where I think I will be, but I don't know. That's all I'm saying. All right. But speaking of trophies, let's get into our updated trophy count. I don't know if Yield did this or not. Let's hope he did. I am level 876 total. Okay, I definitely don't have 22,831 trophies. So, something's wrong. Alex, do your trophies, and then I'll come back to mine.
I don't see 22,000. I see for you 2831.
That's what I'm saying. I definitely don't have that. I have more than that. So
okay. I'm level 486 with a total trophy count of 9055. That's 9,055 total trophies and a platinum count of of 152 in 151 games.
And I have 28,331 trophies with 776 platinums.
Oh, sorry, Tricky. I don't mean to interrupt here, but I did want to say that I have crossed the threshold. 89% completion, 89.04% completion on PSN profiles for my trophy list. So my goal for this year was to get over 88%, and I've climbed to 89. So doing it and doing it well.
All right. Yield is level 501, total trophies of 9,753 with 176 platinums. Matt, you have a little progress this week there, buddy.
Yeah. I've made a massive jump. I'm still level 218. That hasn't changed. But I went from 1266 trophies to 1268.
That's a hell of an accomplishment, sir.
I think I turned on a game, and that's how I got them.
Sid is level 836, total trophies of 22,518 with 726 platinums. All right, so Matt, I have to ask the question. Should we be challenged to another trophy war? Are you willing to go to the depths of hell to beat the other team?
Matt, before you answer this, I want you to know that I will not be joining these shenanigans because what you are required to do, I don't want to be a part of it. So
you will have to take a shower after every day of gaming.
I can answer for Matt. I can be Matt's spokesman on this. He's not going to do it. He's not going to join a trophy war.
See, the thing is, for me to join a trophy war, it's almost like I'd have to care about trophies. And, it's not a lot, but the quality of trophies I do have don't need to be sullied with spam and rats and all the other crap you people throw into your little trophy wars.
What do you mean, you people?
I mean, you people.
So
I think he means you and Daryl.
So if I was to give you access to my account, so you can go all the tractor juries and the My Name Is Mayos and the Paw Patrols and the Hannah Montanas, you wouldn't do that for me, huh?
Tricky. There's some people who say you're a good man. I'm one of them. But no, I would not do that for you.
Wow. I might have to recruit V. V would do it.
You sure about that?
Listen, V has told me under no uncertain terms and things that she says that if she knows a person's in need, she goes and helps. So I think I could convince her to knock out, 300 platinums with some stuff. She said
I'm sure
no.
that has its limits.
She says no in the chat. What?
Why play stuff you want to play when you can just rat spam and
What if I told you that Harley said you have to do it?
I'd want to know how Harley can suddenly talk.
I'll wait for her response. She's not responded. Or either that she's contemplated it. Or either that she's writing a big novel about how she said she would cuddle Harley to say no. All right, fair enough. Let's get back to the show. Let's get into what we're playing. Matt, we'll start with you, sir. What are you playing, sir?
So I've made a ton of progress in Tears of the Kingdom. I'm only a few missions from the end of the game, and I think that puts me right in line where I need to be before Armored Core 6 comes out. I also ended up picking up Remnant 2 because everybody has been enjoying the hell out of that game and advertising how fun of a game that is. So I picked that up today, just started playing that a little bit. The 2 trophies I did get were from Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remake. I just decided to go in there and skate around a little bit. And so I picked up the game on disc on PS4 back in the day, and I played through it a bunch. But then they came out and they did the PS5 free on PS Plus. So as a result, I just loaded it up and played Hangar because, I could play Hangar for hours. It's not a difficult level. And I just got some trophies just randomly playing through that game. And then once again, I'm going back through playing Armored Core 3 in preparation for Armored Core 6. So that's all I've been really doing this past week.
Okay. While you guys are talking, I'm just going to get a platinum real quick. So, Alex, while you're telling me what you're playing, I'm going to get a platinum.
Grand. I'm sure we're all elated, waiting with bated breath to hear which 15-second platinum you earned. So this week I got together with Nitro, Riley, and Yield on Thursday to do some Rocket League. I finished up my trophies in Blitz, NFL Blitz. And it's, for me, the last couple of weeks has worked out really well for the annual rarity event. I haven't been getting any platinums, but what I've done is I've gone back to games that I have, previously left trophies sitting on the table, particularly the PS3 era, and snapped up some ultra rares, quite a few ultra rares. Actually, every trophy that I've gone back and earned in Twisted Metal 2012 has been an ultra rare. So, and these are like future-proof ones because obviously no one's going to go back and play NFL Blitz or Twisted Metal when these trophies are like sub 1% or 1-2%. So I mean they're ultra rare forever. It's not like some of these newer games we play, they get ultra rares and then they eventually decay. These are going to stick forever. So it's been really nice to go back and just finish off some trophies, up my percentages, and this is what's pushed me to 89%. So I've been really happy with that. But yeah, I've NFL Blitz. It is what it is. I mean, not much else. What's that?
Just got my platinum.
Okay. Not much else to say about NFL Blitz. I mean, it's fun arcade style football, but there's only so much you can enjoy when you're trying to cram through, a gauntlet of 48 matches, and it's like, okay, I'm done with this, and I feel like I've played more than enough Blitz, than I need to for the next 3, 4, 5 years. The other game, as I said, I've been playing is Twisted Metal 2012 on the PS3, and I do have a new appreciation for that game because, first of all, the trophy list fucking sucks. It's awful. It's a 10 out of 10 difficulty, and it's not just that it's hard. I can respect that because if it's hard, I can basically say, like, not waste a lot of time and say, you know what, this is too hard for me. I'll get what I can get, and then I'll move on. But the trophies are also grindy. Like, there's a lot of, like, apparently David Jaffe and team at Eat Sleep Play thought that people would play this game multiplayer for years because, you know, there's just trophies for, like, get a certain number of kills with every single missile in the game. Get a certain number of kills with every single car in the game. Get a certain number of, you know, wins at every type of match. Just so many ludicrous, like, I don't know if it's on the scale of Mortal Kombat, but what they expect you to do in the online realm to play this game is absurd. Especially when I get it, Twisted Metal lends itself to multiplayer, but, you know, I don't know. I just think the requirements, like, they're a little bit crazy for what they expected people to do to get the platinum trophy. So, but overall, I mean, the game still looks good. You know, for a game for 2012, I still think it looks pretty good. I like the cars that are in there. I like the presentation of it all. You know, they tried stuff new with this game, and I feel like Twisted Metal Black had a very specific feel to it, and Twisted Metal 2 as well is like the two like favorites of the two favorite children of the Twisted Metal world. And I feel like the character and like the soul that those games had, and they were very different. You know, each game was, you know, nothing alike, but I feel like the vibe in this one just kind of feels soulless. Like, it's still fun. It's still got the car combat, and like they bring back a lot of the favorite cars, introducing new cars. Like I said, I like all the cars. It's just this game doesn't feel like it has the soul that the other ones did. So it loses a little bit in there. And part of what the problem is that there's a single story mode where you play through as like it's split into 3 sections. One you play as Sweet Tooth, one you play as Grim, the other one you play as Dollface. And so there's not one character like or driver per car. And you go through the story mode and you get their story, which is what made Twisted Metal Black so good. But what they do is they do factions. So you can drive any car, but you just pick a faction to drive that car. And I think the game loses a lot there. Plus, I mean, they try new things in campaign mode, which are fun. I mean, like there's like races and you have to be like get in a certain spot in the race, like top 4 to be able to survive, to move on to a death match in a small arena. Cool idea. And, you know, can be very hectic and fun. And there's other ones where like there's a level where there's like not only like 5 enemies, but there's also like a big rig, like it's called Juggernaut, which will every 2 minutes drop a new enemy. So you have to go not only kill the enemies around you, but also go kill the semi before the semi drops more enemies and inflates, you know, your enemy count. So there are cool ideas there, but there's also really bad ideas. Like some of the boss fights are just really long and tedious and shitty. There's also, you know, a gameplay mode within this campaign called Cage, where you have to stay inside this very restricted area, and that area after a certain amount of time moves. So the cage moves, and you have a grace period. And once you lose that grace period, you start to take damage when you're outside the cage, and you're just driving all over these large arenas and still trying to fight. It's just not fun. It doesn't work out well. So some good ideas, some bad ideas, but I think they changed the game so much that it felt like it lost some of what Twisted Metal was, and just some of the things that endeared people to Twisted Metal Black and Twisted Metal 2. And, you know, even the original Twisted Metal. So it's still a fun game to play, but, you know, I think that they definitely went a step too far in changing things. And, you know, like the controls, honestly, they could have worked on the controls. The controls feel as good, if not worse, than Twisted Metal Black, which came out in 2001, 11 years earlier. So I just feel like they could have worked on some things a little more. Some of the maps in campaign feel way too big, and the enemies are just always on your ass. And when, you know, the controls can be difficult to navigate, just enemies always be on your ass. Like, you know, 5 people always being around you, just coming for your throat. Like, it's a bit much. So they definitely had some stuff they could have worked on there. So, I mean, overall, like, it's still got a good score on Metacritic. It's like a 76 on Metacritic. So not a bad Twisted Metal game by any means, but just following Twisted Metal Black and trying to revive and reboot the series, it wasn't what Twisted Metal should have been. So, I mean, which is borne out because obviously they haven't put out a Twisted Metal game, you know, a new one since then. So Twisted Metal Black to me is still the king. I think that the way for them to go is remake Twisted Metal 2, because hundreds of thousands of people have been playing that since it came to the to PlayStation Plus. Twisted Metal, though, 2012, a good game, some good ideas, some bad ideas, but I just hope that that's not the game that kills the series, because it's not a bad game. It just not everything, you know, they threw stuff at the wall and not everything stuck. So I just hope for a bright future for the series, and maybe the TV show is going to help it get there. But yeah, that's my spiel.
All right, and I've been playing Saints Row. I finally finished up a Final Fantasy 16. Thank God, because that game was boring as hell. And that's it. Because the only thing I've played since then, other than The Division, is My Little Pony, but that was back on August 2nd. I didn't even really get into that. So yeah, that's all I've been playing. Saints Row, it's more Saints Row. So far I've been playing it. I don't know why so many people gave it hate. It's not a bad game. I mean, it's not nothing spectacular, but if you played other Saints Row games, this is exactly what it is. I don't even, it's not even jarring to me that I'm using different characters. It's a Saints Row game.
But I mean, you're talking about using more than one character, because in like Saints Row the Third, you play as one character throughout.
No.
You're saying
since this is a reboot, all the previous characters that we knew, like Sean and stuff like that, they don't exist. It's a brand new 4 people, 4 new characters entirely. They've never been in a Saints Row game before.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
I mean, I can see how that could ruffle some feathers because, Twisted Metal, they rebooted it, but they still kept Sweet Tooth and a lot of the characters. But in this, it's completely different. So you're kind of erasing the history. So I can understand why people wouldn't be happy about that.
To me, this feels like a Saints Row game out in the desert. That's all it really feels like. I'm enjoying myself. It's mindless fun. I get to punch people in the nuts. The comedy's still there. And not for nothing, I mean, you could change the voices of your main character, but the main voice sounds like the main voice from all the other Saints Row games, so it's not even... to me, it's not even that much different. It's just another Saints Row game. So, the Platinum, I looked, according to Power PYX, it's only a 3.5 out of 10, and it takes about 60 hours to Platinum it, so... but there are a number of glitch trophies. Apparently, there's one trophy that I was warned by Dex. Apparently, if you play co-op before you get all the other trophies, it could glitch out and stop your progress altogether. So, if you are playing Saints Row, do not do co-op until you have every other trophy. Otherwise, it could glitch out on you. But yeah, if this game turns out as fun as I'm having right now, I may go back and do it on the PS4 as well. Get double platinum on it. So that's it. All right, so let's get into our topics. Our first topic is coming from IGN, and most of our topics come from IGN because Matt and Alex didn't supply me with topics next week. I guess they got tired of Destructoid.
I'm sorry.
I still think I saw Matt send something to us, but I still think that you're getting paid under the table by IGN.
And I did send you one article. It just happened to be from IGN.
Also, I was going to send you articles, but then I remembered I need to go watch the stuff from the THQ showcase, so I did that instead.
Oh, wow. I'm very happy, Alex. I didn't think you were actually going to do that.
Oh, okay. I want to call you out for something right now.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
I mean, I don't know if I should do this because this might ruffle feathers when it comes to our Patreon, but...
Oh, here we go. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you watch the episodes of The Mandalorian before you all podcast on them?
Yes.
You do? Because Yield said you didn't. He said you just read the synopsis. Because Yield said that he didn't even watch the episode last week.
Yield did not watch the episode. I watched the episodes. But as far as the synopsis, what I do is, as far as the show goes, is I start the episode, I ask for overall thoughts before we get into spoilers. Then I read the synopsis, which is a bunch of spoilers, and then we go into the episode. And if you don't think so, that's the way we do it. Matt G's been on the last 2 episodes, and he can verify that this was the first time Yield said he didn't watch the episode prior. He had a confession at the end. So.
Indeed verified.
Okay, well, he just made it seem like you just read the synopsis and didn't watch the episodes.
No, I'm watching all the episodes, and okay, Rick, this is a little bit of a spoiler for our topic of the week because we are going to be talking about the THQ showcase, but Rick says he's not happy about the new South Park game going 3D and no longer turn-based. So we'll get into that later.
Also, mostly probably multiplayer only, or at least largely multiplayer.
So our first article is coming from IGN, written by Ryan Dinsdale. The PlayStation Plus Games Catalog editions for August have been revealed. We have a list of games. Games that are joining are Destiny 2, The Witch Queen for the 4 and the 5, Sea of Stars for the 4 and the 5, Lost Judgment for the 4 and the 5, Moving Out for the 4 and 5, Destroy All Humans 2, Reprobed for the 4 and the 5, 2 Point Hospital Jumbo Edition, the 4, Source of Madness for the 4 and the 5, Curse to Golf for the 4 and the 5, Dreams for the 4, PJ Masks Heroes of the Night for the 4 and the 5, Hotel Transylvania Scary Tale Adventures for the 4 and the 5, Lawnmower Simulator Landmark Edition for the 4 and the 5, Spellforce 3 Reinforced for the 4, Midnight Fight Express for the 4, and your classic games are Medieval Resurrection for the 4 and the 5, Ape Escape on the Loose for the 4 and the 5, and Pursuit Force Extreme Justice for the 4 and the 5. Rick wants to know when I get the PG Masks. I don't even know what the hell PG Mask is. Is that like
a proven gamer mask?
I'm sorry, PJ Mask. Sorry, I said PG. PJ Mask. It's a kids game apparently. Okay. I don't know. I still got to go through My Little Pony. So I'm a little behind.
Tricky grew to an adult to play kids games still. Like not just like games that kids and adults can enjoy, but
listen, I got the Paw
games
Patrol
made
Platinum.
Strictly for children.
I got the Paw Patrol Platinum.
You've made that very clear.
And I'm gonna get it again, and then I'm gonna go get My Little Pony, and then there's other games I'm gonna get.
It's a good thing you didn't give me shit for playing Weird West twice.
I was only gonna give you shit because you gave me shit about playing games twice.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and give you shit for playing Ghost of Tsushima twice, but Paw Patrol twice?
Listen, I use those games, honestly. I play those games when I'm editing just to pass the time. Because I could just
Dude, I play like the games that I normally play editing, especially if I'm just listening to the episode to make sure there's nothing big I need to take out, and I've done most of the editing. I listen through and I'll play a game, but I still play the games I've been playing. I'm not like gonna have to like mindlessly play Paw Patrol or something.
I don't know. All right, so the list of games. Anything stand out to you, Alex, of games that you're gonna want to play?
I mean, not really. Did you say Medieval? Was that the remake or the original game?
Medieval Resurrection, which I think is the second game in the series.
Okay, well then I've never played that before. I don't know. I enjoyed the first Medieval, the remake that I played for the PS4, so I might try out Resurrection. But yeah, nothing else really caught my attention because I already have kind of like an outline of games that I want to play. Like I said, Scott Pilgrim, that game Extinction where you kill like the giant, ogres or trolls or whatever they are. That's on sale for like under $2 on the PlayStation Store right now. So yeah, I kind of got games kind of planned out to play. So unless it's something massive like, I don't know, Havoc coming back to Mortal Kombat, which was confirmed, by the way. My boy's back. It's going to take something earth-shattering until Alan Wake to get me to jumble up my schedule.
Okay, I gotta stand correction. I just Googled it. Resurrection is a 2005 gothic action-adventure game developed by Cambridge Studio and published by Sony Entertainment. It's a reimagining of the first installment in the series.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, I still... watch a trailer and see what style the gameplay is.
Well, just so you know, the image that is showing on Wikipedia is a PSP game. So,
I mean, I did like some PSP games. That don't mean I can't be playing that I'm not going to play a PSP game. Also, we should probably also again highlight the fact that Sea of Stars is releasing day and date on PlayStation for with your subscription, so be on the lookout for that one.
Yep. Matt, any game standing out to you, sir?
I was just going to bring up Sea of Stars as well because that game is releasing this month, and I don't think we ever got the flat out denial that there would never be a day and date game, and certainly, the question being is whether that's meant for first party games or third party games. But the fact that we're getting Sea of Stars, third party game, day and date on the subscription, what does that mean for future day and date games?
Well, I think it was confirmed that we're not going to get Sony first-party games day and date. Other games, I think they said, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe they said that would be up to the developer. But I think they confirmed that first-party games would not do it, but other developers are, more than willing to do it.
Oh, I do want to point out another game. In the jumble of the words and the text that Tricky has read, I kind of got lost. But Destroy All Humans 2, Reprobed, that's also coming to the service. And I know Yield had some fun with those. And they look like fun games, Alien going around and killing people. So I never played them. So, maybe this is my opportunity to play as we wind down here, get towards the end of the year, and I have to be less focused on the rarity of trophies. I can actually, just have to take that consideration out and just, start playing shit to play shit.
All right. Have either one of you guys ever played any of the 2 Point Hospital games?
Nope.
Not I, said the frog.
I see those every so often, and I don't know, the character models kind of got me intrigued, but I never really looked into them. I don't know.
It's a management sim. It's 2 Point Hospitals, 2 Point Campus are both management sim type games.
All right. I might check that out since it's free now. All right. Moving on to our next story here. PlayStation 5 beta has added cloud game streaming. This is coming from Taylor Lyles over at IGN. The following games are able to be cloud streamed. That's Death Stranding, Demon Slayer, Demon Souls Remake, Destiny 2, Destruction All-Stars, Fall Guys, Fortnite, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Resident Evil Village, Returnal, and Sackboy. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, we talked about this in the past about how PlayStation was going to open this up to game streaming. You can stream up to 4K, whatnot. I want to be clear. This is meaning that you could play these games without actually having to download them onto your system. You could do it via the old PlayStation Now, where you just take the game and it streams from their servers. You don't actually have to download the game. The games are fully playable. There's no restrictions with it. But it is coming in the beta. And again, if you want a beta code for the United States and other countries that I mentioned, which I don't know off the top of my head, I do have 3 more beta codes if you are interested in getting into it. Alex, I would have offered you one, but I don't think you're interested in the betas.
It's fine. Give them out to our listeners. I'd rather you do that anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, these are obviously newer games, PlayStation 5 games. Are these the first batch of PS5 games to be streamable? Because mostly on the PlayStation Network, it's PS3 games and older games.
Yeah, and again, I want to be clear. This is only in the beta. This, you can't do this right now. You could this is a testable thing for the beta, and I don't know if this is going to be the list of games that are going to be available upon official launch of this. This might just be a beta exclusive list of games. I don't know. But right now, if you're in the beta, you can stream those games.
I definitely understand pretty much all these games and why they would put them on streaming. Destruction All-Stars, though, I thought that game was dead in the water a long time ago. But
I think a lot of these games they put on here is just to really test the graphics and the amount of data that needs to be sent over the servers and over the internet and whatnot to fully test this. They're very graphic intensive.
Well, and they're obviously going to move to make more games streamable because, as the article mentions, they're trying to come out with this handheld thing, Project Q.
Right. And
you can't, if you're going to sell this thing, you're going to have a pretty decent library of things to stream.
Well, okay.
If you're gonna sell this thing for hundreds of dollars, all of your new games are gonna have to be streamable. Like Spider-Man 2, all of them. Wolverine.
Okay, but I want to be clear about something, because while you're making a point, I do think this will be an option for the Project Q. The Project Q, they have not said it either way, but the Project Q is not made to stream these games. The Project Q is to remote play your PS5. So you're still going to need a PS5 in order to use the Project Q. So it's not necessarily the same thing, although I do believe that Sony would be smart to make this an option so you could play these games without needing a PS5. So I just want to be clear about that. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it would be smart if they could, if you're going to sell this thing, if you can in any way make sure that they don't have to own a PS5. So like maybe you have someone who's got a Steam Deck and then maybe like, I want to play PlayStation games and I don't want to have to wait years to play them. I'll get a Project Q and it'll be cheaper than a PlayStation 5 and I'll still have access to a lot of these games and I can stream right to the Q. I don't know. I just feel like if they can work that out and just have where you can just play on the Q and not need a 5, I think that would help this handheld monumentally. Otherwise, I think this thing is unnecessary, but that's just me.
If the Q is going to be successful, it's going to have to stream from the cloud, because outside of Daryl, I can't think of many people who are going to get it just to be able to stream a game from their PS5 to their Q that don't already own things like iPads and controllers that they could hook up to iPads.
Not to mention that from everything we've heard is that you have to be on the same network as your PS5. So with that restriction, you can't even like go on the bus with it and use it. This and from what I'm hearing is this is not going to connect to a mobile service like the Vita did. That you'd have to
hotspot off your phone if you want to connect it remotely, and in that case, there's some hula hoops you can go through to be able to connect it to the same network that your home internet is on to VPN it in to connect to your PS5. But that's asking an awful lot of the average gamer. And for everybody that complains about how complicated the Steam Deck is, nobody's going to be going out there doing that so they can stream from their PS5 at home to this thing.
Yeah, because people who went out and bought the Steam Deck or who typically play on the PC are more willing to take those extra steps, whereas people who buy PlayStations because you plug it in, you put in the HDMI cable, and you're good to go. They want, like me, they want the simplest shit possible.
It quote-unquote works.
Yeah, give me my games and give me them as soon as you can.
Well, speaking of the Steam Deck, because I know, Matt, you have one. I don't know if you tried, and I may have asked you this in the past. Can you download the PlayStation Plus app and use it on the Steam Deck to get PlayStation trophies with it?
So there are a couple steps you could do with it. There is a program, and I forgot what it's called. I haven't done it myself, but there's plenty of people who have downloaded the app and this service. And by combining those two things on the Steam Deck desktop mode, running it in compatibility mode through the Steam OS, yes, people are able to stream their PS5 stuff and PS Plus stuff to the Steam Deck. So it's possible, and it's not as difficult as you might think. It's a couple extra steps. Microsoft went out there and put specific instructions to be able to make a Game Pass variant on the Steam Deck. Sony has done no such thing, so people actually had to mix a couple programs together to get it to work.
Understood. All right, moving on to our next story here. So coming from IGN, written by George Yang, Zavala has a new voice actor following the death of Lance Reddick. So I put this in the agenda because obviously Lance Reddick was the voice of, why am I blanking on his name? Siren?
Silas.
In Horizon. Bungie has announced that Commander Zavala's journey in Destiny 2 isn't over, and that his late voice actor Lance Reddick will be replaced by Keith David for the English language in the upcoming Final Shape expansion and beyond. Quote, earlier this year, we lost Lance Reddick, the English language voice actor for Commander Zavala. The passion and professionalism Lance brought to the role over the last decade was unmistakable and loved by all. Lance's iconic voice led us through the most intense moments in Destiny's history, and impact on our Guardians, our community, and Bungie as a whole will never be forgotten. Bungie also confirmed that it wouldn't be re-recording Reddick's existing lines, and that they'll remain untouched in the upcoming release. So I put this in here because obviously, Alex, you brought up the point of how is Guerrilla going to move forward with Silence, with the passing of Lance Reddick. this at least gives us an out. And I do believe Keith David has a very similar voice. So I put this in here, obviously to show that he Lance Reddick's voice can be replaced, and I think it's with a good actor, and that's why I'm put it in here. And Alex, I was going to ask your opinions on it.
It's obviously it's an unfortunate situation where Silence is a massive character within the story of Horizon. So honestly, like, you almost have to recast him just because of the need, how much weight that character carries and how, integral to the story he is. You can't just, work some voodoo magic like they did with like Hasbro and Netflix did with a Power Ranger show where they just took archival audio to put in Tommy, Jason, and Kimberly and just have their voices in there. It's almost like, the sheer amount of lines and stuff that they're going to have in there for Silence, and to not, mess with the story at all and have everything flow as it should, you almost have to recast him. So unfortunate that they have to do that. But these things do happen, and I guess this kind of gives us a decision because Bungie is also owned by Sony. Guerrilla is as well. Studios probably can make their own decisions, but you would have to imagine that there's going to be some synergy there, and that Horizon, the Guerrilla, is also probably going to use Keith David, or at least another voice actor, to get the job done when it comes to Silence and his future in Horizon.
All right, Matt, your thoughts?
So when I read the article and I went into the comments, I saw there's two minds of this. People who are very happy that Keith David is taking over, Keith David being a fantastic voice actor amongst being a fantastic actor. I think he can do the role justice. And other people who said it might be too jarring of a change, especially if they are going to keep the old voice lines in there. Because when they went in and replaced Peter Dinklage and his voice lines, they did it completely. They didn't leave the old ones intact. They went with a new direction for your Ghost. Here, I'm not sure how jarring it's going to be. Like we've said, Keith Davis he's got a similar sounding voice, so therefore maybe it won't be as jarring of a transition. But I would almost think Destiny would have been the perfect chance for them to have Zavala go out in a blaze of glory and then bring in a new Titan commander for the group. Whereas in Horizon, where Silence is so integral to the story, you can't just kill him off and expect the story to flow naturally. So it's interesting what they're doing. I applaud them for, taking a stance and making the decision that they are. So I'm excited to see what he'll bring to Destiny, even though I haven't played the game in years now.
And I do want to make a further point that the Sly Cooper series, I believe the character Carmelita Fox had a different voice actor in every single game.
Yes, she did.
So, we could get past that. Granted, obviously the story in Sly Cooper isn't as, serious as the one in Horizon. It doesn't involve real people, it involves real people, but it doesn't involve real people on your screen. They didn't use mocap and stuff.
Yeah, but I think the difference between Sly Cooper and this is that there was a different voice actor in each game, where this is replacing the voice actor of a character in the same game. And that's
that's Destiny and not Horizon.
Well, yeah, in Destiny or yeah, in Destiny's case, yeah, because it's literally the same game. This is just an expansion. Not to say you're wrong in what you're saying. I'm just saying different games that could be the same thing. And if they're keeping Lance Reddick's lines already in the game, and then you talk to him one time and he's talking this way, and then the next time you hear Keith David do the voice, that's the issue of it being a little jarring, is because the voice just suddenly changes in the same game.
No, I kind of understand it, but also Keith David, if he does sound similar, these are professional voice actors, so he could potentially change his voice to make it more like Lance Reddick to be less jarring. But my point was, we knew Carmelita, it was a different voice, and we got over it. So in the end, if the game is fun, and I think people will find a way to push past it and just continue to enjoy the game. We're talking about millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars invested in these games, particularly Horizon. So I don't think that they're going to take any chances on, fucking with the voice work. They're going to do the best job they can. But I think that they'll find a way to make it similar enough to Lance to where it's not like, 1 minute it's like Fran Drescher speaking, and the next you go to Margot Robbie. I don't think it's going to be one of those situations, or like in wrestling where a character is like a foreign menace in storyline, and then, a day later they're a too American accent. I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Well, you bring up Fran Drescher, which now brings another question, and I hate to suggest it this way because of the strikes that are going on, but how would you feel if they used an AI voice to replicate Lance Reddick for the third game?
I would rather have a different voice actor. I don't want to rely on AI so much.
I mean, the AI is sounding realistic nowadays. So
yeah, AI is potentially very problematic for us as humanity. So especially in terms of we're talking about Horizon and stuff like that, and what machines can do and software can do to people. Look, I would just rather have a regular voice actor, because even if AI sounds scarily similar, it still has a machine quality tone to it, and I don't want that. I mean, honestly, like,
can I cut you off for 1 second there?
Sure.
I get what you're saying, and I agree with you, but within Horizon, it would fit the theme because it is all machines. So using a machine, but
he's a human being. He's not a machine.
I understand, but I'm saying, what if they somehow turned it into he is a machine? I'm just throwing a theory out there. I'm not saying I want this at all. I'm just saying it does fit the theme that machines are taking over. And if somehow they could work it into the story, the Silence was a machine the entire time, that could fit the theme a little bit.
Sorry to jump in, but no, they can never work it in that Silence was a machine the entire time. There's been too much interaction and too much story there for that to make any sort of sense. What I could see them doing, if they were to go down this kind of path, is that Silence goes on a mission, and then all you ever see from Silence is through Aloy's focus, never in person again. Because what you found out is Silence was killed on that mission, and spoiler alert, the thing that's coming is going, it has created an AI version of him to mislead the troop. All of that said, I think AI use to mimic his voice would be an extremely poor taste, which I think Guerrilla Games has already shown they don't have poor taste by the way they've honored his memory. And number two, using AI to create full-on voices in place of actors is a very dangerous, slippery slope I would rather see many companies avoid. You see what's going on with the SAG, you see what's going on with the Writers Guild, and everything there. And if these companies start going to AI, it's going to throw an industry out of loop. You already saw the outcry from Disney's use of AI for the opening art of Secret Invasion. And you're seeing people rail against companies deciding to do that. Companies are going to do whatever costs them the least amount of money. And unfortunately, AI is going to be a very, very attractive option for them to make use of. And I really, really hope we have something here in the future that will restrict the use of AI for organizations.
Yeah, because you don't want to see that kind of thing put, artists out of business, voice actors, actors. You don't want to see that happen. And also, even though people seemed pretty positive on Transformers: Rise of the Beast, there were people that commented that they didn't like how robot-y they made the actors' voices. Yes, they're voicing robots, but they made, in some cases, like say Scourge and Peter Dinklage. In a lot of cases, if you didn't know it was Peter Dinklage, you probably couldn't even tell it was his voice. So there were complaints about how they kind of modified their voices to be more robot-y instead of, just their voices. Because honestly, if I want to hear, I want Peter Cullen's voice, damn it. I want Peter Cullen and not some like super robot-y version of Peter Cullen where they messed with it in like a mixer or, put like filters over it. So.
All right, just to be clear, I wasn't trying to suggest that that's what they should do. I'm just saying that is an option that they could go down that path.
They could, but I don't really think we want them to go down that path. Just
I-
use another voice actor, and like Matt said, I think it does raise a good point about the memory of Lance Reddick and not trying to replicate him. Appreciate what he did, but also recognize that he is gone, and we can move forward instead of trying to in some way use his voice, but not actually his voice, to continue to make money off of that. Like there's just kind of a very grimy feel to that I don't think Sony and Horizon or Sony and Gorilla really want to deal with.
Okay. Comment from the chat is Rick says, nah, AI is shady as fuck.
See, Rick's on board.
So
No, let's take this one step further. Just allow me this one thing before we move on. What if somebody out there came up and said, I want to make a gaming podcast, but I don't want to actually have people associated with it. It's going to cover trophies and achievements. We're just going to use AI to make all of the hosts and the music and all that stuff. Is that competition you really want?
no. Again, I'm not suggesting that that's what they do. All I'm doing is now, if they were really in that much of a bind, it is a possibility. But I stand with, because I've been watching some of the protests and some of the things that they were saying. What's his face? Andy Serkis? He's the one that played Gollum, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was just watching an interview with him where he was saying that he's possibly the most computer generated actor out there. With how many times he's been scanned and whatnot, and it's really scary that once they have that, they're able to use it in other projects and not necessarily get his permission or even tell him about it and make money off of it. So I'm not trying to in any way, shape, or form saying that Gorilla or PlayStation or anybody in the world should do that. I believe if an actor's likeness is being used, then they should be paid for it and paid fairly for it.
Well, take it back to the wrestling example. How many wrestlers had names given to them by the WWE and other entities, and now when they go off into acting, they couldn't use them. And now you've seen a large change. Like, I think the question recently was, what's your favorite wrestling era? And mine was the Attitude Era. People like Stone Cold and earlier Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, having names and things like that meant something. Now everybody's just got their name that they get called out to. Well, it's not so much the persona; it's the person.
You say that, and it's actually funny because I was watching an interview not too long ago where John Cena said that WWE owns his name. Like it's his legit birth name, and WWE owns it. And he said, he doesn't particularly have a problem with it because how much WWE has done for him and how much money they paid him to do it. Like he doesn't care about. But every time he's in a movie, WWE gets a chunk of that because they're using his name, which I think is weird.
We can move on. It's just it's points that AI talk is very scary. And Tricky just needs to stop being the good idea fairy, giving these people ideas of what they can do.
I guarantee that deal that Cena made was made years ago before he had all this fame and fortune. Because
absolutely.
If they tried to strike this deal now, he would have all the power and say, "No, I'm John Cena. I'm keeping my name." There was a thing about Keith Lee too, where they tried to trademark Keith Lee's actual name, and he fought them on it. So you shouldn't be able to trademark someone's given birth name. Sorry.
All right, so last two comments, and then we move on to our next topic. Rick says extras have to sign contracts now, giving up their likeness. It's bullshit. The wrestlers have to sign over everything, even earnings made from streaming and things like that. That was a deal within WWE that any money that was made on Twitch, they had to get 50% or something like that. They've now backed off on that, so a deal was cut. WWE still gets a cut of the money made on Twitch and other platforms, but it's not 50%. I think it's more agreeable. That happened because Zelina Vega came out and admitted it. But yeah, if they stream or they're using their likeness or their wrestling name, so to speak, or the name that WWE owns, they are getting a cut of it, which I think is bullshit, but it is what it is. It's one of the reasons why Adam Cole was willing to go to AEW because he could still stream. But then you look at somebody like Up, Up, Down, Down. Austin Creed started that by himself. You look at Long Island IZ when Zack Ryder did that, and then eventually both of those entities were taken over and controlled by WWE. So, a lot of people think Up, Up, Down, Down is still independent, but no, WWE owns that now. So, all right, next topic coming from Logan Plant over at IGN. Red Dead Redemption fans are protesting the release because they're calling it overpriced and lacking new features. Red Dead Redemption's newly announced PlayStation and Nintendo Switch release could have been a cause of celebration among the game's dedicated community, but instead fans are up in arms over today's news. This morning, Rockstar revealed that 2010's Red Dead Redemption and its Undead Nightmare expansion are coming to PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch on August 17th, with physical editions to follow on October 13th. Rockstar is calling the port a, quote, conversion, end quote, rather than a remaster or remake, and the company is charging $50 for this iteration of the game. Red Dead Redemption players on social media are upset about the fact that Red Dead Redemption's price, missing multiplayer, and lack of PC release. It doesn't help matters that the rumors of a Dead Red Redemption remake have been flying for weeks, following a fresh rating from the game in South Korea. Fans got their hopes up over a full-blown remake, with many clamoring for a version that would put the original in line with Red Dead Redemption 2, in a similar manner to how The Last of Us Part 1 is now visually similar to Part 2. One of the tweets from Mr. Pyro1 on, is it Twitter or is it X? What are we calling it?
Who cares?
I'm not on that platform anymore, so who cares? But
the only social media platform that matters is Channel 3.
All right, fair enough. I thought you were going to say Threads for a second. I was about to come across this computer. Red Dead Redemption, what we wanted was a remake. The map is in RDR2 already. 60 frames per second, DualSense features, only current gen version, the PS5, Xbox Series, good PC. The Ultimate Edition, what we got is a 30 frames per second port, no 60 frames at all, no remake or remaster, and Rockstar not caring. And it's also willing to note that this was not being released for the Xbox because, as many people pointed out, you could play the original Red Dead Redemption on the Series X, and it automatically gets upscaled to everything that the PlayStation and Switch players wanted. All right, so I'm going to step away for a second and give you guys the floor because I have to use the little boys' room. So, Alex, start us off.
Well, yes, people are very unhappy about this. And, I mean, let's be honest. This is the company, Take-Two, that put out the Grand Theft Auto Remaster trilogy a few years ago, and it was terrible. Had so many issues, and it seemed like they put almost no effort into it. I mean, people gave Nintendo shit for the Mario Anniversary trilogy that they put out, a little bit before that. But this seemed to even be less effort by, Rockstar. So Take-Two probably feels like they can release something like this and charge $50 for it. They seemed, because they have Grand Theft Auto, I guess they figured they have enough goodwill. Red Dead Redemption was a big hit for them, so they have a history recently of just putting out stuff that probably doesn't. They even apologized for the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, and here we are. Them putting. What's the need to put out Red Dead Redemption again on the Switch? And what was the PS format? Did they also say the PS4? Or
it's just PS4. It's going to be available via backwards compatibility.
And the Switch. It was on the Switch too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the need to put this out? What's the point of it? If you're just putting out the game again and you're not adding any new features and it just seems like you're pissing people off, if you need to make money because it takes so damn long for you to develop a Grand Theft Auto game and you're putting this stuff out there because you need a cash infusion, and your regular NBA 2K releases aren't enough and stuff like that, the WWE 2K games aren't enough, then maybe you need to look at your development cycle for a Grand Theft Auto game and scale it the fuck back. I mean, honestly, maybe develop a Grand Theft Auto single player and then maybe in between that put out Grand Theft Auto multiplayer. I mean, and let that run for years. I don't know, but this seems to be a poor decision. People have not reacted to it well, and I'm pretty sure, I think it was Strauss Zelnick, the Take-Two CEO, said that we feel like this is what we can, that this is the right amount of money to charge for this product. Well, people seem to disagree. So, I mean, Take-Two just kind of seems to feel like they can do whatever, and there's no repercussions for it.
So it's funny that you bring up the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy remaster that they charged full $60 for. You know what they used in portions of that game? AI. And that was very poorly received. And it's really sad, I guess, that we're getting just a straight port able to be played on last gen system for $50. It boggles my mind that Rockstar, after all the bad press that they got from the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy remastered collection, that they'd even have the cojones to try to put this out at this current price and expect it to go over well. The fact that they didn't learn from their mistakes, and I get, in a way, I guess they did, because they figured just a straight port without worrying about any upscaling or AI or anything like that to improve the previous version would get them some sort of traction or goodwill. But in the end, it just looks like they've created yet another mess for them. And unfortunately, people are going to go out there and buy it.
Some comment from the chat. Rick says, "This is fucking ridiculous. Here's a nearly 15-year-old port for more than it cost originally." I think it was $60 when it came out originally, wasn't it?
Was PS3 the era of $60 games? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was $60 because they didn't move until it's been a few generations, and they just moved to 70 this time. So it would have been $60 back then.
And then he goes, "You know why it's not coming to Xbox backwards compatibility, baby?" I said yes. And then he says they should go like Warzone for multiplayer on GTA. Give me a full player GTA trophy list. This boggles my mind that this is the way Rockstar went with this. And I'm not saying that, Rockstar should have to take a loss, but with the amount of money they're still making on GTA 5, I think they could have done this for fan service and said, okay, we're going to release this for, say, $30, and we'll just take the loss.
Yeah, but I mean, what is the point? I mean, people want to get on Sony for remakes and stuff like that, but this is just a port. What's the point of putting this out there when it's been on a recent generation of consoles? They didn't do anything to it. They just ported it, and
because it can't be played on the PS5 currently, and it cannot be played on the Switch. So this is a way to get the current gamers to be able to play those games, where the Xbox was able to play it because of backwards compatibility. It was not playable on the I don't believe it was playable on the 4 at all. And now people on the 5 and the Switch can now play the game.
So, I mean, I mentioned in playing Twisted Metal 2 that they needed to update the controls to make that game more enjoyable to play. I think that if you tried to play that game now and didn't grow up with it, you would have less of a rosy outlook on it than the people who grew up with it. But, and Sony just put that on PlayStation Plus, part of your subscription, added trophies, added, replays, rewind, save feature and all that stuff. And I still think they should have gone in and, redid the controllers to update them. But this, I certainly expect more than a straight port for these, when you're charging what, $50 on the PS4 and the Switch. I don't know. I think that Rockstar and Take-Two think that because they have certain IP, that they definitely feel like they're somewhat impervious to this kind of thing because they survived the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. I mean, no one ever thought that was going to sink them, but they got past that. And the mantra seems to be is, well, if we fuck up, we'll just wait until people are no longer mad about it. And again, if this is something that they need to do, I don't think that Rockstar and Take-Two are doing this out of the goodness of their heart to make these games playable on the 4 and on the Switch. They're doing this to make more money.
Well, you say that, and then Dex in the chat says, is this not just a way that Rockstar are hitting their fans in the pocket without doing any of the work to clarify the die-hard Rockstar fans?
Yeah. No, I mean that's correct. And again, like I said before, if you need these cash infusions because it takes you so damn long to put out a Grand Theft Auto, which by the way, Grand Theft Auto 5 is still selling in the top 10, so I don't know why you would need to do that. But if that is part of the issue and it costs so much money to get a Grand Theft Auto game out, then you need to rethink the development of a Grand Theft Auto game and the scale of a Grand Theft Auto game.
It's that SpongeBob meme where they go up to Mr. Krabs and be like, "Hey, what prompted you to do this?" And he turns around and goes, "Money," because that's exactly what Rockstar is going after. It's an easy port for them to kick out, and they are going to reap the rewards, I guess, because people are going to be sheeping by it.
Well, I also find this weird because constantly I'm seeing on social media like different GTA 6 leaks. 3 cities, this and that. They're like, this is the mission, this is the nightclub, all this other stuff. So ever since that leak that happened, 6-7 months ago, there's been like a constant stream of leaks on GTA 6 and when it's going to be announced and the character models and all this other stuff. So I would think Rockstar at this point would try to do goodwill. And like I said earlier, release this for $30 and just take the loss as like a gift, a pseudo gift to your fans saying, listen, you can now play this and it's fairly cheap. That's just the way I feel about it personally.
Or wait until you're ready to release Red Dead Redemption 3 and put this out, a year beforehand and on the 5 and add some stuff to it and remaster it or remake it.
I think we're 10 years away from a Red Dead 3.
Well, then don't put this out now.
I guess my question is it going to be linked to any trophies from the original Red Dead Redemption on PS3?
Well,
is it the same game? Is it a different game?
Well, they said that this game doesn't have multiplayer. And in response to you, Alex, like if they're not going to release Red Dead 3 for another 10 years, and you're saying put it out then, I mean, just look at it from Rockstar's perspective. Are you willing to let it go 2 generations of consoles? Because by that time, we're going to have a PS6 probably. Are you willing to let it go 2 console generations without people being able to play the original game?
I will point you again to Twisted Metal 2, which came out in '96, and you go to PSN profiles, and hundreds of thousands of people have played that game. It's over 100,000 people, I believe, and that's just on PSN profiles. So it doesn't matter if absence makes the heart grow fonder. So if you're better off waiting a longer time because more people are probably going to be willing to play it. It's like, I haven't played that game in 10 years. I'll go back and play it. Dead Space. I bought the remake. And it was great because I hadn't played it since like 2006. So just because you skip a couple console generations doesn't make a game dead in the water.
All right.
Would it not be better to actually put more effort into the game and to the release itself than just shit out something that people will get pissed off about?
All right. There was another sub-article to this, and I think somebody brought it up. I think Alex, you brought it up earlier. This has also come from IGN and written by Rebecca Valentine. After today's Take-Two earnings call, IGN asked CEO Strauss Zetnick why they priced their newly announced port the way they did, especially given the backwards compatibility situation for the Xbox. He responded by, quote, "That's just what we believe is the commercially accurate price for it," end quote.
Yeah, well, the day I begin believing Zelnick on anything he believes is commercially appropriate would be the day that I would buy a Red Dead Redemption remake or re-release, I should say.
And you know what? There's probably people out there who've never played Red Dead Redemption that are willing to spend the $50 on it because they never played it. And for Rockstar and Take-Two, they're probably like, yeah, it was worth it, whatever. But it's, for anyone else who has played it or, it might be, it's just gonna be seen as bullshit. I don't know. It just seems like in the end, financially they may make out for the better, but I get no PR is bad PR. At least some people believe that, or no. Oh, what am I trying to say? There's a quote there I lost, but yeah, I don't know. I think it would have been better off for them to use it as a marketing tactic for Red Dead Redemption 3 and actually put effort into it as opposed to what they did. And just assume that people would be okay with it because, well, it's Red Dead, we have Grand Theft Auto, and what are you going to do, not buy it?
All right. We're going to take a break from Take-Two CEOs because we got to come back to him for the topic of the week. But before that, let's throw it over to the fans.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
So, again, I want to give a shout out to V, who was our community manager. She's doing a fantastic job. She's remembering every week to put out the post for listener questions for our shows, and because, let's be honest, we all kept forgetting. But we have a couple questions. First one coming from T. Diddy. If you could change one aspect of a game, which one would it be and why? Alex, I'll throw it to you first.
Aspect of a game and why?
You want me to come back to you?
No, I'll go. It's not a PlayStation game, but one I can think of is that. So the Pokemon games. Recently, the 8th generation Sword and Shield introduced DLC content after the main release of the game. It's really the first game in the series that's done that. I enjoy Pokemon, but I also feel like playing Sword and Shield really burnt me out because having to catch 400 unique Pokemon, and it's just, for me, overwhelming in time, kind of tedious. So I would rather them release a same size base game, but with fewer Pokemon, and then people are probably going to hate me for saying this, but I would rather them release maybe 3 DLCs instead of 2 that just have more Pokemon sprinkled in there. So I'm not catching as many at one time. I know that I just suggested take Pokemon out of the main game and put them behind DLC, but the Pokemon DLCs for Sword and Shield, the oh God, what were their names? The Crown Tundra and I can't remember the other one, but there were 2 of them, and to me, they were far more enjoyable to play than actually through the main game because the main game felt more tedium for me, and maybe just I need to, manage better how I play those games. But I just wish that maybe instead of putting so much up front that, and again, I know I'm asking for less game and more game be put behind a paywall, just release it in smaller chunks. I don't know. That's one thing I could think of because I didn't buy the newest Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet, because of that, because I got so overwhelmed and kind of tired of playing Pokemon Sword and Shield that I just didn't even bother with the next generation. So I enjoyed the DLC more than the main game because it was just a smaller chunk. So my thinking is that maybe if you release a smaller chunk at the start and then release maybe an extra chunk instead of just 2, you do 3, maybe that'll be more enjoyable. And I can play it more throughout the years instead of trying to beat it all at once. That probably sounds like sheer lunacy to everyone, but in my head, it sounded good before it came out of my mouth.
All right, Matt.
So I'm going to take my knowledge and expertise in Monster Hunter, and a lot of the early portion of the game tended to surround the collection of items to make like your potions and your other stuff. And even later in the game, you can't just buy some of the higher tier items. I think for the sake of making life easier for hunters, make some stuff more easily accessible at the beginning of the game. That way you get to the portion of the game that matters. It's the hunting of the monsters. And, as a new hunter, you go out there, you get like 10 potions and a couple full heals. Just make it so that way I can go to a vendor later and get all my mega potions as opposed to having to buy potions and then get honey out in the wild. I know a lot of what I'm saying may sound like Greek to a bunch of you, but from veteran hunters, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Hey, Tricky, can I just add something? Because I feel like everyone hates me now.
Why does everybody hate you now?
I think I was thinking 2 grand scale with it. I'll leave what I said there. Again, I think people are going to hate me because I'm asking for less game and more microtransactions. But to think less grand scale and just kind of focusing on one, one smaller aspect of a game. Animal Crossing. I love playing Animal Crossing, but in the store, the little clothing stores, you can only buy one hat, one pair of shoes, one pair of pants, and one shirt at a time. And I just wish they would go in and allow you to buy everything you wanted in one fell swoop, instead of you can only buy one of each type of thing and having to go into the store multiple times to buy everything you want. So,
all right.
Hopefully, I've made it up to the community for what I said earlier.
I really didn't have an answer until you guys started talking, and then my answer is stop with the half hour to 45-minute tutorials at the beginning of games. Saints Row does it good in the fact that it comes in, introduces the story, and then, the first 5 to 10 missions of the game is teaching you the mechanics of the game, whether it be like how to upgrade your gun, or how to drive, or this is or one of the requirements, this is how to fly a helicopter, stuff like that. When I'm sitting there and I'm spending a half hour, 45 minutes just learning, and I'm getting pop-up menus of, messages saying, oh, this is how you fly the plane, or this is how you do this. That to me just gets really annoying really damn quick. So stop with the half hour to 45-minute tutorials, and somehow work your tutorial into a mission of the game where it's not so intrusive. So that would be my answer. All right.
So you'd rather have it spread out throughout the game rather than one giant chunk at the start?
Yeah, because and somehow work it into the game so I'm not sitting there reading a whole bunch of text that I may or may not, remember. Because okay, so the best example I can give this, and it's not really the best example, but let's just say you're playing Mortal Kombat, right? And you want to learn how to do Scorpion's Fatality. So you go into the menu, and it tells you how to do it in the menu. Then you have to unpause the game, go back into it, and then try to do it. And you may or may not remember, oh, it's a quarter circle forward with a punch, or whatever the case may be. It's in the game saying, okay, it's on the screen, and I'm doing it at the same time. So I'm reading it, or it's being told to me, rather than me bringing up a pop-up menu to say this is the way to do it, and then that pop-up menu may not be memorable enough for me to remember how to do it this way. Or at least with the pop-up menus, it gives you like 5 options saying, oh, this is how you do this move, this is how you do this move. Then you got to go back into the menu to go, okay, this is how I throw the spear, this is how I teleport, or this is how I do the Hellfire. Give it to me as I play in the game, so it's natural that I'm doing it, and I'm learning one thing at a time instead of trying to read 5 things at once to try to remember how to do all 5 things. I hope I didn't just confuse the hell out of everybody. Next question. Thomas wants to know, is there a game that helped you overcome a fear? I'm going to answer no. I'm still fucking scared of spiders. Matt, your answer?
Nope, no. Because I don't think I have any irrational fears that a game would be able to assist with.
Alex?
Yeah, and anything that I don't know. Video games are kind of a safe space. I mean, I know that some can be scary, intense, and stressful, but in general, you recognize that you can't get hurt from playing a video game, so it doesn't really prevent. I think part of a fear is that you feel a sense of danger, a threat to yourself, and just video games don't really provide that. Even in VR, you can kind of disassociate, even if you can kind of get into the action. So personally, no, but I do actually think that's a very good question.
Still get the tingling in my cockles when I'm jumping from a giant height.
Gareth wants to know, when going after trophies, what is your least favorite requirement? And then he gives a couple examples. He says speed runs, level increasing or XP grinding, multiple playthroughs, obtaining collectibles, online multiplayer, or anything else. And Yield left an answer. He says speed runs or multiplayer. Alex, what's your least favorite requirement for trophy hunting?
Well, I don't know if I have a least favorite. Everyone seems to be naming multiple, so I guess I'll join that bandwagon. I'll co-sign on the speedruns thing. I don't like being rushed through a game. It's why I've never played Majora's Mask. I don't like time limits on things. So when I have to do speedruns, like, yes, I will do them if I really want to play the game. But also, as I've said recently, if your game has a speed run, I may not ever play your game, or I may just write it off from the start. So, as silly as that may sound, I just don't want to deal with speed runs because it's not the way I like to play a game. I want to take my time and I want to be able to explore, because exploring is one of my favorite aspects, and I like to do that at my leisure. Video games shouldn't be work; they should be fun. So I see speed runs as kind of work. Grinding in general, having to grind through anything, having to grind through online multiplayer is the absolute worst, which is why I said that, why the platinum for Twisted Metal 2012 is so rare, is because you have to just grind out online, and grinding out online is hit and miss, and in general, just kind of, it's just an awful experience, at least for me, who enjoys my single player. So I can't stand that. I'll add a new one to the conversation because, people have already mentioned those, but the Riddler trophies from Batman Arkham Asylum, and not just those, but I like collectibles, but some people go way overboard with it. So if you're throwing out like 500 collectibles, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. Like Alan Wake with the 100 coffee cups or coffee thermoses, I think it was, like, that game had enough collectibles where you could do like, half that, or, a third of that, and been just fine. So I think sometimes developers go crazy with collecting all the collectibles, and it's just a massive annoyance. I like collectibles, but there's definitely a moment where you go way overboard.
I will defend the Riddler trophies in the fact that they weren't just collectibles. Each one had some kind of a puzzle attached to it, which broke up the monotony of just having to go to this location to pick something up. You had to get there, and then you had to figure it out. So I'll defend the Riddler trophies in that aspect, but I will say there are way too many. Yeah, I will say there are way too many of them.
There should have been 100 of them. They're like, what, 500? There was something absurd.
I thought there were like 300.
Oh, I don't remember. I'll look that up. But yeah, I mean, you could get away with 50, and I think they would have been just fine. Like that game with the combat challenges and just the story, 50 Riddler trophies around the world would have been plenty.
I don't want to hear it with our 900 Korok seeds that stopped being a benefit to us after like 500, 600 of them. The rest are just because people are completionists and they want to see what they get.
And they got nothing.
The game director for that is Aonuma, right? Or Aonuma.
Mm-hmm.
He was laughing at y'all. He was like, y'all fell for it. Thanks for the money.
He made you pick up Korok poop throughout the entire game.
Black Chaos just entered the chat and says, hey, yo, what's good, baby? Black Chaos, thank you for joining us. My least favorite requirement is definitely multiple playthroughs. I think, I don't mind one or two playthroughs. Like Final Fantasy 16, for me to get that platinum, you have to play through it again on a harder difficulty. Uncharted and The Last of Us was the same thing, where you had to beat it on first before you could unlock Crushing or Survivor difficulty, and you had to go back through it again. I don't mind those, but games like Metal Gear, where you literally have to play the game 8 times to get the platinum, that's just ridiculous. I'm not even going to do that. Donnie did that, I think, for 4. He played the game 9 times. Like, I'm not doing that.
Okay, so I think there are 282 Riddler trophies found throughout Arkham City, 247 for Batman, 35 for Catwoman. Still too many.
What about for Arkham Knight?
Oh, I didn't look for Arkham Knight. I can look that up. But that's for Arkham City. Still, that's way. I mean, that game is more than enough to chew on, and to go that far, cut it in half at least.
Black Chaos says that's Donnie. He's special. That's a word for him. Yes.
He's more dedicated than we are.
TD comes back, goes, movies you wish you never seen. Curtis says Babylon, the 23 version. Joseph Priestley says Batman versus Superman. And Yield says Philadelphia. I'm going to disagree with Yield. I thought Philadelphia was a fantastic movie.
I'll go towards the other end with the comedy, and I'll say Jaws: The Revenge, because, well, I could say that about Jaws 3. Jaws 1, I would say best movie of all time. Jaws 2, pretty good sequel, and then it falls off the cliff. because the sequels to that are fucking terrible. So I'll say Jaws 3 and Jaws the Revenge. But if you only make me pick one, I'll say Jaws the Revenge.
Matt, movie you wish you never saw?
There was a movie called Abandon starring Katie Holmes, and I forget who the actor was, but he was the Lou Diamond Phillips lookalike. And I just remember watching the movie, jaw agape at how stupid and slow it was to an ending that, frankly wasn't that surprising. They tried to have it be like a twist type of movie, and it just fell completely flat. So if I was able to erase that from my memory, that'd be great. And it was erased from my memory until you asked this question. So thank you.
I want to give my answer, but I know that I'm going to get a shitload of hate for it.
Oh, please do then.
Any of the Lord of the Rings movies. They were boring as hell.
I mean, I thought they were good. And I think visually, I think they still hold up.
I expected the chat to blow up right there.
But you are entitled to your opinion, sir. By the way, Tricky, to answer your question, 137, I think, for Arkham Knight. That's what I could find.
Yeah. The Lord of the Rings movies, they were just freaking boring. All right, TD has another question.
Wait, hold on. I got a question. Did you see any of the Hobbit movies?
No, I didn't even bother.
Okay. Because it seems like of the two series that the Hobbit side is the one that people regret the most.
TD comes back and goes, what color scheme in a game makes you angry? Thomas, I'm just going to answer this by saying I'm colorblind, so color theme schemes don't really jive with me. I do think that while I like cell shading, I think it's overly used too much. So I will answer you by saying
that's not a color scheme. That's a style.
I know, but it's also, I don't want to say it's like neon or fluorescent, but it's a little over the top in my opinion. Although I do like it in some aspects. Like I liked it in the Prince of Persia. I think it fits Borderlands, but I think it's overused in other things. So that's going to be my answer. Matt, color scheme that makes you angry?
Brown. Especially too many war games. Everything's just brown. I was playing Battle Bits Remastered because that's the big thing out there now, and a lot of their color schemes were just brown, and it made so many things hard to distinguish. So let's get some color back in those games, folks.
All right. Apparently Curtis in the chat agrees with you. He says brown and gray area from the 360 PS3 generation.
Yep.
Alex, you have an answer?
They're like Twisted Metal Black has got a very dark, kind of colorless atmosphere, but it works for Twisted Metal Black, so it can work. But I've just gotten so tired of the post-apocalyptic worlds that like mud and beige, just kind of like if there's a desert setting, like Rage may be the poster child for this, and there are locations that have color in that game, but in general, like just a wasteland of just desert and brown and just mud and beige, like it doesn't make me mad, but I also just kind of like roll my eyes at it and be like, get me some color in here. You can find little moments to inject color in here. Now, again, there are contradictions to what I just said. Twisted Metal Black, it works perfectly for that game, but in general, it doesn't work for every game. And I just think that just kind of this colorless palette just makes the world feel like dead. And again, in a post-apocalyptic world, that's what you're going for. But maybe it's just me and I don't want to play in those worlds. I've had enough of them, so.
All right, Saber says in the chat, some of the Assassin's Creed color schemes were garbage. I disagree, sir. I think the color schemes for Assassin's Creed's always been on point. All right, so we had another comment in the Facebook group, which it doesn't relate to the color scheme, but maybe, Alice, you could answer this. Curtis also says, I defeated 2 of the bosses in Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, Alex, I have no trophies. And then he puts a question mark at the end. Do you know what that's referring to?
Wait, beat 2 of the bosses. So, Curtis, since he's in the chat, are we talking about like
Curtis isn't in the chat.
I thought he was.
No, sir.
Wait, there's just a question he left. No, I don't really know what he's talking about because he says he has no trophies. So hopefully it doesn't mean that his trophies got erased. Maybe he's thinking like, so there are giant versions like 30, 40-foot Sobek and Anubis. And, oh, God, for the life of me, I can't remember the other one. But there are basically three versions of like this, three gods that you fight in the desert in that game, and I don't believe you get trophies for them. You just fight them, and you get special armor. So you get something from them, but it's like costume, not a trophy. I don't believe you get trophies for them. I'll have to look because, well, you do get one trophy for fighting them, but I don't think you get a trophy for each one of them. Hold on. I'll have to look back at the trophy guide.
Well, I asked him in the chat. I said, on the Facebook group, I said, can you further explain? I'm confused with this reply. He hasn't responded yet, so maybe, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to understand what he was saying. But we'll move on to the last question, which is, I'm going to say right now, I had nothing to do with this. But Alexander wants to know, why is Tricky still an amazing human? In which Rick replied, how much did he pay you for this? I didn't pay him, Rick. So, I mean, I can't answer this because then, my ego would go out of whack. But Matt and Alex, why am I still an amazing human?
I mean, you do it for the kids.
What was that, Matt?
I trash on you too much to answer this question as a as a non-serious answer, but as a serious answer, yeah, I definitely will mimic what Alex said, is that, you give your time to help the kids out every year, and especially leading up to it. So, for everybody else, go out to support Tricky and Proving Gamer on the Extra Life Tour when he goes and streams.
You helping the kids and promoting Extra Life and raising awareness is definitely one of your stronger points. All
right. I do want to point out, Matt, I did resist making a joke earlier in these questions when TD asked what color scheme in the game that makes you angry. I jokingly was going to say Tears of the Kingdom, but I know you, because I know you really like that
I went style. Out here and said something nice about you, and your first response is to go back and say how you restrained yourself.
No, I'm saying
not trashing one of my most beloved games of the year.
I'm saying that's why I'm an amazing human, because I didn't make that joke.
Right.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
We're gonna talk about this after we close air.
Well, I'll keep the recording going so we can release it as a Patreon content.
It's gonna be a God. Who was the Batman that was screaming on set? No, it wasn't when he was playing Batman.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale on the set of Terminator, screaming at the guy walking across set. That's what the audio is going to be. Just me screaming at you about your hate for Tears of the Kingdom.
You know what? To be fair, I haven't played it since you guys helped me that night. But you and Joe were making fun of me. So I have not even played it since then. So
Tricky, until we get further clarification from Curtis, there's a boss trophy for the Curse of the Pharaohs for beating the final boss on that. You get a trophy. And then also the two war elephants you have to fight. You get a trophy for that. Sorry, what are their names? Katesh and Rasef. But other than that, there's not really any trophies that I can tell tied to bosses in the game. So if he's, fought the giant Anubis or the giant Sobek and is thinking he should get trophies for those, I don't believe you do.
All right. So we have two topics of the week. The first one, I thought we could have a little bit of discussion, and then our second one is going over the THQ Nordic THQ showcase. All right, so our first one is coming from Rebecca Valentine over at IGN. There's been some buzz lately about a mid-generation upgrade, particularly a PlayStation 5 Pro. And while there hasn't been any official confirmation on that, it has gotten plenty of people talking about the need or not for such an upgrade for both consumers and developers. But Take-Two's CEO Strauss Zelnick, at least mid-generation upgrades don't really impact much. Speaking to IGN ahead of the release of Take-Two's Q1 earnings, Zelnick said that the need for mid-generation console upgrade, quote, all depends on what that mid-generation upgrade would look like, end quote. Generally speaking, the mid-generation upgrades haven't really changed much, he said, later repeating that such upgrades, quote, aren't that meaningful, end quote. And he confirmed that they don't change the way he thinks about making games or selling games from a publisher perspective. It's not surprising that Zelnick feels this way, especially in this generation. Historically, mid-generation upgrades like the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X were largely focused on graphical and storage improvements, both of which are nice for consumers but don't actually make a huge splash in terms of how developers or publishers make games. And in this generation, the market is dealing with a slow adoption of the new consoles due to the now concluded chip shortage and relatively strong support for the previous generation. We also spoke to Zelnick about the rumors of a Switch successor, and while he didn't have much to say, he did say the publisher, quote, almost certainly, end quote, would be an early adopter of such console. Elsewhere in the Take-Two earnings call, we learned that Grand Theft Auto 5 has once again sold another 5 million copies to a total of over 185 million units sales. Meanwhile, Red Dead Redemption 2 has sold over 55 million units, and NBA 2K23 has sold over 13 million. Now, I basically almost read the whole article outside of the last paragraph, but I thought this would be a nice conversation because, as Zelnick pointed out, when we get these mid-generation updates like the Pro and the Xbox One X, they did update the graphics, they did update the storage, but I could also see from his side saying it doesn't really do anything for them. They don't really have to change anything for what they do for these new upgrades. So, Alex, I'll throw it to you first and get your thoughts on this.
For me personally, unless I have to buy a new console because mine is broken or something like that, I'm not going to buy the refresh. I'll just stick with I didn't buy a PS4 Pro. I'm just going to stick with the one I got. So for me, it doesn't really matter either. And for the most part, I mean, obviously, if you buy a console at launch and then Sony comes out with a refresh, all of Sony's games from that point forward have to be playable on both consoles. So for the developer standpoint, you obviously wouldn't change your philosophy. You would just learn how to better harness the technology, because whether your game was released within a year of the console's release or a year after the refresh, the game's still going to have to be playable on the original consoles too. So I can understand from his perspective why it doesn't really matter all that much. And a generation like this, where it's been harder to get out consoles because of the pandemic, may push back, or I mean, we'll get a refresh, but because Sony obviously wants to put out a newer version just so it's probably cheaper for them to make, and because they get better access to parts, they find more efficient ways to build, more cost-effective ways to build the console, so they can pass on that savings to consumers, or at least make more money off the consoles they sell. So Sony's obviously going to push for that, and the same for Microsoft. But for consumers, because so many people are getting a PS5 and stuff later in the generation because of what has happened in the lead up, it may be less necessary to consumers than in previous generations.
Matt?
How many are playing your games in 8K right now?
None. Because there's no 8K games out there.
The fact that Sony puts 8K on the box, I would argue, is a point of false advertising, because I have not seen any 8K games. I have not seen people playing it in 8K. I have not heard of any 8K things coming down the pipeline for games. The point I'm trying to make here is, what's the purpose of a why is the term escaping me now?
Cycle.
Mid-cycle refresh that you don't even have the base console hitting what was promised. And I will say with this, I bought myself a PS4 Pro because playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on a launch day PS4 was torturous, especially when you got to Saint Denis. The frames were dropping left and right, and it was very problematic. Still playable, but not the best experience. Playing on a PS4 Pro massively improved that. So it's to the point that, yeah, as a developer, you shouldn't count on a mid-cycle console release to leverage new technology. If you just need that to make your current gen games more playable, then something was wrong with the programming of your games to begin with. It's really making it upsets me that this has become the thing now, that we're just going to push a system out and we could just do a mid-cycle refresh down the line to really make do what works. Ghost of Tsushima, wonderful experience on the PS4, especially the PS4 Pro. But again, that really what's the word? Shone when the PS5 came out and they released that director's cut, because you could make use of the new technology and the hard drive and everything in there. I'm just really hesitant to invest in a new PS5 console that comes out in, let's say, the next year. Because I think we covered it a couple months ago where they're talking about the next cycle of consoles. They're like, 2028 will be the next series. And that's about a, 7-8 year cycle. I just want companies to make good on their current gen promises before they go ahead and do a refresh. That's all I'm thinking.
All right, I just Googled 8K video games. And I don't know these websites, but according to moviemaker.minitool.com, there's one PlayStation 5 game that has the potential to run at 8K 60 frames per second. It's called The Tourist. Never even heard of it. And then from osgamers.com, they say these current games run at take advantage of an 8K screen. It doesn't say it runs at 8K, but it takes advantage of an 8K screen. And those games are Assassin's Creed Valhalla for both the 5 and the series. Control for the 5 and the series. Forza Horizon 4 for the series, obviously. Gears 5 for the Xbox Series. Ghost of Tsushima for the 5. Immortals Phoenix Rising for the 5 and the series. And Ori and the Will Wisp for the series. I don't remember any of those games being advertised to being able to run at 8K. Alex, do you remember anything like that?
Tricky. We're about to have a little heart-to-heart here.
Boy.
To be honest with you.
Hit me with it.
I don't give a shit if it says 4K on the box. I don't give a shit if it says 8K. I don't care if it says 100K. I don't care. All I know is that on an HD TV, my PlayStation 5 games look good. I mean, I was just talking about how how Twisted Metal 2012 still looks good on my PS3. So I don't care about any of this shit.
Well, I would hope if it says 100K, that's not the price point.
I'm not a technophile. Well, some of us can afford that, Tricky. Not all of us, but
just put it out there. Yeah. I'm ashamed to say that if they do come out with the PlayStation 5 Pro, I probably will buy one on day one. Because I just like the next and best.
You want the new cutting edge technology. You want the latest and greatest, Tricky. Let's be real. No. The real question is not would you buy one? Would you buy one to replace all of the ones you currently have? So would you buy like 5?
No, I would just buy the one for streaming. The other ones would stay where they are. Yeah, but I mean, I had to step away at the start of the conversation when you were talking, but I don't see the need for it, really. But I'm ashamed to say that if it came out, I would buy it, but I don't see the need for it. And especially since, I mean, maybe, Matt, you could do a quick Google search. I think the cheapest 8K television right now is like $15,000. So I don't think there's many 8K TVs out there anyway. So what's the point of releasing 8K games?
That's way too much to be spent on a TV.
$1,000 Samsung 55-inch QN700B Neo QLED 8K TV.
How many megahertz?
How many megahertz?
Yeah. Is it?
You mean how many hertz?
Yes.
Let me look this up. Way to go, Best Buy. Give me the full stats where I need it.
Gotta love Best Buy.
I freaking only if they sponsor us.
You know, there's a Best Buy right by my work, like pretty much across the street, and I still don't go there hardly at all.
You know, I find myself walking into Best Buy trying to get something, see if there's anything that I want, and there's absolutely nothing. Refresh rate is 60 hertz.
That's bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you're on and that was a 55-inch 8K, which is not the best size when you're trying to get the most bang for buck out of your resolution.
Right.
So yeah, then the next model up is 1597, which is the Samsung 65-inch QN800B 8K TV. And
I'm willing to bet that's 60 hertz as well.
Probably will be 60 hertz as well, because anything up, 120. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, 4K 120.
8K?
This one we could blame Amazon on, because this isn't giving me the appropriate.
I mean, like what you look at the Switch OLED had looked slightly better, had I think more storage space, but other than that, there wasn't a massive change from the original Switch, and I didn't go out and buy one because the Switch that I bought beforehand, the launch one, is just fine. So, I mean, honestly, I think these mid-cycle refreshes are really to the benefit more of the companies because, again, they find out more efficient ways and how to cheaper make these consoles, and then they can generally make more money off of them.
Sorry, jumping back in. That $1,600 Samsung 65-inch
right,
is 8K upscaling. So that's not even true 8K.
All right, we're done with this. We're going to move on. Yeah. I think we said our points to this.
Yeah.
Did we just agree with Strauss-Zelnick?
I think possibly. Alex, are you sending me text messages now, or you did this pre-show?
Oh, I sent to the group chat. I sent Matt the links to the T-shirt websites that I go to.
Okay, because my phone's going off right now. I just didn't know if you doing this during the show or this was done before.
My man. Well, first of all, you got some terrible service if they're just coming now, and I sent them before the show. But put that shit on silent.
Well, all right. I would, but I have an awesome ringtone for this group. Now I got to go get the ringtone.
But it doesn't need to be heard over the podcast.
I agree with you, sir.
How about let's move on to the final topic?
You know what? You don't tell me what to do, sir. This is what, your third week here?
I asked a question. How about we move on to the final topic?
Actually,
You should move on to the final topic. If you have difficulty between questions and statements and directions, we need to talk about the leadership of the show.
So here's the thing. First of all, Matt's been here for 4. He's been here for more than this, but 4 straight episodes. This is his 4th week, sir, on the clock. So
Officially, yes.
Would act like this stuff is important to you, Tricky.
Okay. All right. Here's the ringtone.
Oh, are you going to shut your mouth? Because that would be a surprise.
That's the ringtone I use for our group.
What is that from?
Horizon?
Who said that?
Aloy.
Aloy? No. I figured you would have had some perverted Harley Quinn thing on there.
No, that I have for the goddess.
That totally checks out. Please don't play that on the show.
No, we would definitely get canceled if that came over. All right, so coming from IGN, written by Taylor Lyles. This is everything announced at the THQ Nordic Digital Showcase. Obviously, this is not going to be in order of where we're showing in the show. It's just what was listed. The TMT Last Ronin video game was announced. We got a little bit of a teaser trailer for it. Yeah, this is exciting. But I do have a gripe about this announcement. And this is not just because of this game, but just in general announcements.
Because it was nothing.
Yeah, it's literally nothing. It'd been faster for them to say, hey, we have this game in development, than to show us something that doesn't show us anything.
Listeners, I'm going to tell you what happened just so you don't need to go watch this trailer. Cool visual, but there was absolutely nothing. First of all, they spoiled who the last Ronin is because they tell you.
Did they really?
They told you which turtle it was. Not in the trailer, but I've seen like summaries tell you which turtle it is, which, again, massive spoiler because it's not like the last Ronin has been out for forever. But it's literally 4 candles. And then in the background, it shows bows and arrows, like arrows landing on the ground, like bows, are shooting arrows. And one by one, the candles go out, except for the last one to represent the last turtle alive. That's it. That is it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I did hear, which I don't know if it's true, that the turtle from the comic is not necessarily the turtle that's going to be in the game.
Well, the turtle that you had told me was the final Ronin, and the one that was confirmed to me is the one that they mentioned in the thing. So.
Okay. I did not notice that, so I'm going to let that go. But, all right, moving on. As Rick said earlier, a new South Park Snow Day has been confirmed. It is a 3D game. They stuck in a trailer revealing it worked on a new South Park game. And today, the publisher finally revealed South Park Snow Day, a new 3D co-op multiplayer game coming for next year for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. Does that get any of you guys excited?
I know that Fractured Butthole and the Stick of Truth are on PlayStation Plus. I've never played any of the South Park games, although I've heard they are very fun. And, I'd stopped watching South Park a long time ago, but I'm sure that I could get into the humor of the video games. But I haven't played any of those. And from this one, it basically, it says there's co-op multiplayer, but it being like Snow Day, essentially the theme of it, kids are out of school. That's obviously, for kids in elementary school, like a huge, massive fun thing. No schools, snow and ice. That's great. But it looks like, giant snowball fights. So it looks like it's going to be mostly multiplayer or multiplayer focused. And, for me, that's always hit or miss. I prefer single player stuff. I can have fun with multiplayer, but it just kind of depends on, what how the gameplay is and what the major hooks are. But one of my overall gripes about this whole showcase is I feel like they told us stuff and at the same time told us absolutely fucking nothing, or like they showed nothing. It's like, hey, here's a basic trailer to get you excited or teaser, but there wasn't really any meat on the bones. You know what I mean? Like They gave us the smallest, blandest fucking chicken wings they could have.
I agree. Matt, you excited about the new South Park game?
I am, just because I've loved the work that's been done on the previous South Park games, but I don't know what to make out of this one. The art style doesn't bother me, but if it has the South Park humor and it's got decent gameplay, I'll give it a go.
All right. Dex in the chat says he's super hyped for South Park. All right. So the next game announced was Gothic 1. It's a remake. THQ announced the remake back in 2019, and today we got a new trailer for the reimagining of the 2000s era action RPG. The latest trailer focused on a brief overview of the fantasy world players will get to venture across. No release date, but it will be available for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series when it comes available. I did not even know the name of this game. I watched that entire trailer, and they never, as far as I saw it, they didn't give the name of the game in the trailer. So I have no idea what the hell this was.
Well, it went with, there was a symbol for it. Didn't, maybe not everyone had recognized. Maybe they should have put it in there. If it wasn't there, I watched the trailer, but obviously I knew what it was because I went to an aggregator page that had all the announcements, and I watched the trailers off of that. So I knew what the game was, so I wasn't really paying attention for that. But this game showed probably the most gameplay, or the most about how the game is going to function, or the most about the story than any of these other trailers. And except for maybe, despite Trine 5 is probably the one that showed the most. But I still, like, watching this trailer, I have no idea what this fucking game is about. Like, you had, probably over 2 minutes to sell me on this, and I feel the exact same about this game that just reading the name as I do, like, after watching the trailer, and that's just fucking nothing. Like, I remember at the end there was a giant, like, I guess it was a dragon, but there was a fire-breathing creature in an arena, and like someone caught up to your player because your player, the main character, I guess, was trying to pull something off. I don't know. It was just a trailer full of nothing to me, honestly.
Matt?
Gothic Nun, am I right?
All right.
Anyway, no, like Alex, I have no recollection of what this game is or where it was from, so I have no skin in the game when it comes to it.
All right. Next game, Titan Quest 2 was officially announced. It's a sequel to Iron Lore's 2006 game, Titan Quest 2 is being developed by Grim Lore Games, the studio best known for developing Spellforce 3, which was released in 2017 on PC before making its way onto PlayStation and Xbox consoles. All right, we're going to move on. Alone in the Dark gets a new trailer focused on 2 playable characters. Last year, we learned that Alone in the Dark game was in the works, and THQ Nordic gave fans a new trailer for the upcoming reboot. The latest trailer includes Edward Carnby, a private investigator played by David Arbor, who I think is a fantastic actor, by the way, and one of the 2 playable characters of the game. And then we got a second trailer for the game showing the second playable character, Emily Hartwood, who is being played by Jodie Cordner. I have to say I do like the way they did these trailers, but this showed us nothing of the game.
No. I mean, it introduced you to the characters. They had a little monologue there, but like most of the THQ Nordic stuff, they showed us almost next to nothing. So, I mean, I think that what they showed us is they have a variety of things in the works that will appeal to a very wide group of people. But as far as like whether or not you should pay attention to these games or whether you should be excited, I mean, fans of South Park who have played the games before will probably be excited for a South Park game, and people who love Ninja Turtles will probably, wait for more information on the Turtles game. But I didn't come away wanting to play any of these games any more than I did because I don't know anything more about these games.
Matt?
So I never played Alone in the Dark, but it being that I love horror games, I probably should have. So I'll be interested to give this one a go when it comes out.
All right. The next game we have is Last Train Home. It's a RTS game coming exclusively for the PC. Players will command soldiers and try to make their way home while fending off enemies as a result of an ongoing civil war. This is actually one of the games I was a little hyped for, but now I'm disappointed because it's only coming to the PC. Your thoughts on this game, gentlemen?
I really don't have much to say on it.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Right, moving on. Outcast, A New Beginning, got a new trailer. It's an open world third-person shooter from Appeal Studios. It's an explosive new trailer showing off the digital event. The video focused on gameplay and touches on the in-game universe. I wanted to like this, but it did not get me anywhere feeling like I wanted to play this. I wanted to like it, though. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
This was actually I went to the PlayStation blog to look up the trailers, and this was not one they had on there, or at least it didn't load for me, so I didn't get to watch this trailer.
Okay, moving on.
I don't remember much of watching it, so didn't leave a big impression.
All right, next thing is Space for Sale is getting a closed beta. This is a simulation game, and you can now go sign up to play it. Moving on. Tempest Rising gets a new action-packed trailer. It's a upcoming base-building RTS game for the PC, inspired by RTS games released in the 90s and 2000s. The latest trailer focuses on gameplay, but no release window was announced. I'm going to tell you that this is one of the games that I saw at PAX East. This trailer was completely different from what I saw. I can't tell you what I saw because I signed an NDS, but this was not what I saw.
I will say, seeing it, I immediately thought of Command and Conquer, and that seems to be what a lot of people are likening this to when it comes to what they're hoping it is. So I would say if it's anything like Command and Conquer, I am all about that.
Alex?
Yeah, I didn't catch this. I guess Sony only posted certain videos.
Well, this is PC only, so.
PC only, yeah. I mean, but yeah, I didn't. This is not something that Sony had posted on their blog.
Okay.
So obviously, yeah. I mean, it's a PC only, so Sony's not going to share it because they're not going to advertise the games that's not coming to their console.
Yep. Trine 5, A Clockwork Conspiracy, got a new play game trailer. This was a real weird trailer. Like, who the hell gives the pizza delivery guy a tip by letting him play the fourth player of the game?
I don't know. I think that's kind of funny.
It got across what it needed to, is that it's a multiplayer game, and if you played Trine before, be excited for more Trine.
Yeah, I mean, the game looks really good. It's a really colorful, primarily side-scrolling, which is something that, in the rise of 3D gaming, I'm glad that we haven't lost, the charm of 2D and the 2D plane and side-scrolling. I've only played Trine 2, and that was just for a quick platinum trophy in the trophy war because, you didn't need to actually finish Trine 2 to get the platinum trophy. You had to play like halfway through the game.
Like the fourth level.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a game series that after that I just never went back to, and it's a shame. I mean, it looks fun. They went through all the different abilities and powers that you would have, but yeah. I mean, like, I think maybe part of the reason it scared me away is because there are multiple players to play as, and I think that it's best if you have people to play with, and I've never really had anybody to play with. So, game looks good. And if you like Trine, it's more Trine. But I guess that I've never just really had anyone to play the Trine games with, and I've always seen them as, better in that fashion.
Well, it's out later this month. Maybe you could convince Ashley to play with you.
I don't know if we want to start another. Yeah, I don't know if we want to start another co-op game with Baldur's Gate 3 on the horizon.
All right. Next game, Way of the Hunter, Tickamoon's Plains, DLC trailer. It is out now for the PC, PS5, and Series games. I thought it was cool, but I won't be playing it because it's first person.
Yeah, it's basically a hunting game, correct?
As far as I know. I've never even heard of the game. I just saw it, and once I saw it was first person, I just stopped paying attention.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to go out and play a game where you hunt animals. No thanks.
Matt, are you a hunter?
Only of monsters.
All right. The last game
those are Matt's trophies right there. Killing monsters and Monster Hunter. Those are his platinums, gold, bronzes, and silvers.
Literally, they have silver and gold crowns in those games.
All right, and the last game we're going to talk about is Recreation. Got a new trailer. It's coming out for the PC, 5, and Series. The latest trailers show the players will drive and help craft an open world called Mixed World, where you can create, race, and wreak havoc across the setting with an option to play solo or with friends. I kind of wish Yield was here for this because this is a game he was interested in, but I think the more information that comes out, he's starting to feel like this is more of a Little Big Planet, you got to build type of thing, which I think is going to turn him off.
Yeah, the customization looks very robust, but for someone like me, where I don't want to build tracks, like Hot Wheels Unleashed had, a very pretty good track creation system that I just never used because I didn't really care to do any of that. So when I saw all the creation suite in this game, I'm like, no thanks, you've already turned me off. And that was really the big focus of this game, and it makes sense. Recreation, a big playroom essentially, like a big sandbox to race around in, and you're getting to build most of it. So a complete turnoff for me, but who knows? Maybe it's just the next evolution in racing.
Matt?
I saw this. I knew nothing about it before, and I'm somewhat familiar with Trackmania, and I am all about this game. It's outside of Tempest Rising. This is the next game I'm most excited for in this in the lineup shown.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this like the spiritual successor to Wreckfest?
I believe so, because I don't even think that they are made by the same team, or they may have been devs that jumped off, but it's definitely not by the same dev, but it's made with that same thought process in mind. It's just with customizable tracks, and I am all about that.
Look it up. I thought it was being made by the same team. Now you got me. Hold on. This so this is being Recreation is being made by Three Fields, and Wreckfest was made by
Bugbear Entertainment.
Oh, so you are right. My apologies, sir. Same publisher, different developer.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so that is going to bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, for being in the chat. We're going to move on to our shout-outs now. Matt, we're going to start off with you, sir.
Shout out to my wife, V. You're doing awesome, hon. Love you. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Come on out. Join us on channel3.gg. It's a fun social media website where we get to talk about games and everything gaming, and we get to gamify social media. So come on out, join it. Find me on Ender Phoenix. And shout out to Alex, Yield, Tricky. Good show, guys. Thank you.
All right. Alex, before I let you do your shout-outs, I forgot to mention something. Next week, we are recording at a special time. We have a guest coming on. We have Patrick Hickey Jr. coming on. We're going to be recording and live streaming Saturday night at around 9-ish. It depends on what time I get home from work because I have to work Saturday. But Saturday, 9 p.m.-ish, Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be going live and recording the show. So I hope you guys can join us then. Alex, your shout-out, sir.
I want to give a shout out to the community, the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Horse, our listeners. Thank you all very much for continuing to push us forward. Everybody who is in the chat. Tricky, you want to remind me who is in the chat? I know that we had Rick. I know TDD was in there.
Black Chaos.
Black Chaos. I feel like we're forgetting somebody.
Dex Pack.
Dex.
That's all I'm seeing right now. I saw other names, but they've checked out.
Okay, well, I mean, we can give them shout outs too, but yeah, just without you all, this show is it would not continue to go forward. So really, you all are the ones who push us forward and make this happen. So thank you all very much for your continued support of the show. Give a shout out to my co-host Matt and to Tricky and his Yield as well. He lost internet connection and didn't make it back. So hopefully he's not going to have to spend the rest of the night without internet, because as much as a first world problem as it is, we know how much it can suck when you don't have internet to do the things you want to do. Stream TV, play on your phone, play a game. Yeah, that can suck. So hopefully he gets internet back soon. Give a shout out to let's see. I guess a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend Ashley. I love you, hun. And yeah, I want to throw out there again, Gareth's update to the annual Rarity event. The audio file will release separately from the show, so it'll be on this feed, but it'll be a separate file. So I think it's like 55 minutes. So
Yes.
Go and check that out this week.
Yeah, if you listen to this on the podcast feed, it's already been released. I already have it set up and posted. It's going to come out on Tuesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Well, and Tricky, I want to throw this out there because you forgot it last week and you mentioned it right before the end of the show. Do you want to plug Patreon, or you plan to do that in your?
Well, you can plug it. I mean,
No, I'll let you do it since you're the one who set it up.
no, you're the one that brought it up. You plug it.
Well, you don't know it nearly as well as I do. But patreon.com/proven gamer. We all got all kinds of different tiers on how you can support us. There's a $1 tier, which you get extra content, which is extra podcast, which I don't think we've done one of those in a bit. So we need to get back on that train.
Yes, we do.
We also have a $5 level, which will get you access to our Mandalorian reviews that are done by Yield and Tricky, as well as the last couple of weeks with Matt joining them as well. So yeah, that'll be on the $5 level. And if you're on the $5 level, you get everything below that. So you get everything on all the bonus episodes on the $1 level too. There's more tiers, but really those are the two that I want to highlight. And just go to patreon.com if you want to see all the ways that you can support us.
Yeah, as far as The Mandalorian, I think right now our current plan is we're going to do seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. Then we're going to skip over and do the Book of Boba Fett. And then we're going to come back to do season 3 of The Mandalorian. If you have a series or a show or something you want us to cover, let us know. We can cover. I know that right now there's plans for us to cover Twisted Metal and Ahsoka. I just got to find the right host and the right time to do it. Unfortunately, I can't do all the Patreon content because I can't come home every single day and, watch a TV show and then record for an hour or so. So unfortunately, I cannot be on all of them. So I'm trying to line up the hosts, but I know those are 2 series that people want us to cover. So I'm currently trying to work to see if I can get that done.
Twisted Metal, huh?
Yes, we want to cover Twisted Metal as well.
All right.
Maybe maybe we'll get you on that, Alex.
Well, I am in the process of watching the show, and I have played more Twisted Metal in the past 3 weeks than anybody else in this community. So, well, I'm assuming that, but I have played 3 of the games in the last week, or the last 2 weeks, so
all
probably.
Right. So I want to give a shout out to all the listeners. Thank you very much. A shout out to Matt, who keeps me grounded and doesn't let me go off of my shenanigans too much.
Oh, the rest of us don't do that either.
You troll me. At least Matt's like, Tricky, get it together.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What are you talking
If
about?
I release the text chats, if you mocking me, although I think you did say something nice in the text chat not too long ago.
I say plenty of nice things, Tricky.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. That was this morning. Which I thought was weird that you said it to me. Was this? Hold on. Oh, okay. So that's why Matt didn't respond to it. I have 2 text chats going. I have one for the Trophy Wars and I have one with the Rocket League guys. Alex sent me a picture today. Says, "Don't speak Italian to the goat," and it's a goat with the guy's hand like this. I was like, "Wow." He said,
"That's great." You can't see it on video. It's basically a sign post where it says, "Do not feed the goats," and the hand is kind of positioned under the goat's face to give the goat food, but it looks like the stereotypical way people like to make fun of Italians, like with the way they hold their hands when they're talking. So you have to see it, but that's about the most justice I can do it.
Matt, while I'm finishing my shout outs, I just texted it to you so you can see the picture. But I was surprised that he called me out for being Italian because he likes to point out, did you guys have the greatest Italian last name? Shout out to everybody. Alex Yield, Sweet Mama D, who's currently sitting in her room playing Roblox. The Goddess. Matt's shaking his head, so he saw the picture already. Shout the Goddess, or not the Goddess. Sweet Mama D just ran out here.
Hi.
What did you need, my dear?
Nothing. I just heard my name.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Also, shout out to Elgato, who I reached out to, says that Sweet Mama D likes to stream with me for Extra Life, and they sent her I forget the name of the microphone. They sent her a microphone to stream with when I bought my new one, because I have now a streaming microphone, so they sent her one as well. So thank you to Elgato for that. And if there's nothing else, until next week, happy trophy hunting.
Later.
This is the way.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.